both relays blew a fuse.
AC compressor just exploded. And I've developed a transmission leak somewhere.
Found out I blew the fuse on the driver's side fan. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna address the overheating issues on the dually. Now, if you guys remember back on the power tour videos, every time I got to a venue and we got in line, I had to pop the hood because the truck was just getting way too hot. Now, when we're cruising, everything's fine, but as soon as we stop, it starts to creep up in temperature. I think I know why, and I think I have a solution, but I don't have much time to work on it because we're getting ready to take this on a 1,200-mile road trip in a couple days. So let's get right to work. Today I'm doing an electric fan upgrade on the dually. I got these two 16-inch Spall fans. I got the relays and probe style temp sensors, and then I got a fan shroud. Well, this original fan shroud's gotta go. But something else to consider when you're doing these electric fan upgrades is your electrical system gonna be able to handle it? I'm not gonna go into detail on how to calculate the electrical load on the system and all that fun stuff. I'm not an electrical engineer. I'm not a professional, but I did do an upgrade on the old alternator here on the power tour. If you guys remember, we lost the original one on day one. So this one's actually a high output alternator for this truck, and in theory should be able to handle the electrical load of the two electric fans because they draw quite a bit of power. Where are you going? Oh, you're going? You going to the pool party?
Yeah.
All right, bud. Love you. Love you.
Love you, bye, Dad.
Love you, bye, Wywee. Have fun, bud.
Have fun working on your dually.
Thanks, buddy. Well, I gotta find some new fasteners for this water pump pulley. I'll have to cut my fasteners, but I got them. Click, click. Click, click. Water pump pulley bolts successfully installed. So that looks good, and I conveniently found out once I opened everything up today, I've had it for a week or so, that I don't have the pigtail connectors for the fans. So I have those on order. Those will be here tomorrow. Nevertheless, we can keep moving forward and see if this fan shroud fits in here, because I haven't tested that either. Well, oh man, hang on. Dang it. It doesn't fit. It is 3 inches too short. I could extend this by, let's say, like riveting on a 3-inch piece of aluminum. And then, do I have any aluminum here? Let me chew on this a little bit, fellas and fellettes. Let's see what we come up with. Forget everything I just said. We have a new plan. I am gonna end up using these radiator zip ties. Thankfully, I had some in my toolbox from a previous install. So really all I'm gonna do is use the self-tappers to attach the fans to the shroud, drill some holes for the zip ties on the bottom, and then drill 3 or 4 holes across the top. Now, I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of the self-tappers. It's gonna have to do for now, because again, we're just in a time crunch. And when I come back, I can replace those with some machine screws and make it a little more, I don't know, it'll probably be fine, but next up we got our zip ties. Got the zip ties installed down there through the radiator. So now I'm just putting on the end piece. I hope I did a good job explaining that to you guys, how this is mounted to the radiator, because I'm not gonna be able to show you. There's just not enough room down here. So now I gotta find a place to put these relays. This looks like such a mess. I'll show you guys on the relays. I actually labeled which one's for what on the blue line right here for the left side fan. I actually just drew a solid black line all the way down the wire with a Sharpie, just so I know when I get to the fans, this is the left fan. The first thing I'm gonna wire up is this ground. Making sure we have a good penetration into that wire connector. I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap it with this cloth tape. hide it a little bit better.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, we're just gonna keep working our way over to the battery, but we'll just find a spot somewhere like right there. So that should be out of the way. So now I'll be able to, of course, I'm gonna wrap this. So we're just gonna continue to make the harness. Again, this is something that you don't have to do. I like to do this kind of stuff. Ideally, you wouldn't wanna have to extend any of these wires, but at the end of the day, do what you gotta do, man. So the next thing I can do is run these 12-volt, keyed 12-volt source wires. Just wrap this stuff up on a zip tie. And that should help me get this through.
Oh yeah, it's right there.
Got my cheapy test light here. Usually any pink and black wires in a GM of this era, this is a 93 Silverado, is gonna be a keyed 12-volt source. So this is a pink and black wire, keys off, getting ready to turn it on. There is a keyed 12-volt source. I also found this connection right here. We got a pink and black wire right here, so let's test this one. Yep. There we go. I could tape it and zip tie it or whatever, but I think we're just gonna tuck it up there and forget about it. The pigtails came in, and if you guys remember when I did the wiring, I made this black mark on the left fan. So I'm gonna mark the pigtail, mark a line there, and we're gonna mark a line here. Now we have a lot of excess to deal with, but these already came with heat shrink connectors, which is nice. Now I got everything all buttoned up here, got our ground installed, and just got everything nice and neat. Last thing to do is hook up the power at the battery.
Well, this got a little more interesting. So I'm trying to get the truck warmed up to kick these fans on, and my AC compressor just exploded Freon out of the back. So that's toast. Got to try to get that swapped before we go to SETN. And I've developed a transmission leak somewhere. So still trying to get these fans kicked on.
Just trying to figure out why these fans are not kicking on. So I was doing some diagnosis, you know, because the fan relay control has a little dial. You turn it to set what temperature the fans come on at. Well, pulled the fuses and come to find out both relays blew a fuse. So that's really great. I took the truck around the block before I found this out to kind of help everything get up to temperature. Had the AC on because it's hot out here. Parked the truck, messing around with the relays. I left the AC running and blew out all the Freon out of the back of my AC compressor. So that really sucks because the AC was working really good in this truck. And because there was no airflow moving over the condenser, I think the pressure got too high for the AC. Also developed a transmission leak overnight, which is really awesome because today's Monday, tomorrow is the holiday, July 4th. And then we leave for SETN at 4 a.m. on Thursday morning. So definitely feeling the crunch now. So I took a minute, went back to the interwebs, did some research, and verified that I got the right relay kit for these fans. These fans are supposed to run at about 20 amps. The relay kit I got for the fan controller is 30 amps. A little update on the fuses. Ended up putting in 2 different fuses from a reliable company, and those did not blow, and they actually let the fans run. So you can actually hear the fans kick on. Start it up. Just keep an eye on our volt gauge here. We're at 13. Fans just went off. Could be the controller. Let me go check up there. That fuse is good. That fuse is good. Okay,
They're a little hard to get to. I just unbolted them. That one's kicked on. All right, so both are running right now. Still looking really good. Kind of sitting just over 14. I have a third fan on this that sits in front of the condenser on a switch here. So let me kick that on. So that's all 3 fans running right now. That's gonna be maximum. Well, let's turn on the AC. I think I'm good with that. So both fans are cycling. It's already gone through 1 cycle, so it gets up to about 205. I set up the fans to come on about 205. The fans will kick on. It will run for a couple of minutes and then it'll shut off because it cools the engine back down. Now we still haven't done the full Monty, you know, with the hood closed and all that stuff. So we'll let this cycle a few times just to see, make sure these fuses aren't blowing or anything like that. And also, I think we just had a little pressure relief valve situation going on. So I'm gonna kick on this AC and see if we still got it. Everything seems to be operating normally, which is great. The AC came back around, so I guess it fixed itself. I wish I got that on video, what happened. Well, I'm running this truck to the parts store, and I can tell you it's definitely a little bit more peppy. There's a little bit more spice in that big block, taking the mechanical fan off. Another thing is we seem to be staying under 200, and it's hard for me to set the fans, that dial indicator that I'm using to set the temperature. It's not as, it doesn't seem to be very accurate, let's just say that, because of the temp, but it could be also where the temp's reading on the temp gauge, on the gauge cluster, and at the actual radiator inlet. But anyway, the AC is blowing cold. We're gonna run to the parts store and get some more refrigerant and fill that back up. Hey, remember when I said I wasn't gonna wire up those fans to the AC? I might be changing my mind on that. Maybe just one of them. Back from the parts store, got some Freon and ended up making an audible. I popped another fuse in the parking lot because I sat there once I got to the parts store, just let it idle, see how long it was gonna take to start heating up. And it started to kind of creep up quick. So I popped the hood, found out I blew the fuse on the driver's side fan. So what I'm gonna do is end up wiring in a circuit breaker. Let me show you guys what I got. This is a circuit breaker. This is actually a type 1 circuit breaker. So this auto resets. So in place of the fuse, I'm gonna put this along with 10 gauge wire going from the fuse to the battery. I extended the power cable. Now this is a 12 gauge wire that goes from the relay all the way under the truck over to the battery. Now, I did a couple of calculations just before I turned the camera on, or actually while I was in the parts store. Anyway, if you're running 30 amps on a 12 gauge wire, you can go 4.9 feet, and we're about double that. If you look at where the battery's at, goes all the way down under the radiator support over here to the fuse. So we're gonna upgrade 10 gauge wire from the battery, still keep the same route, come up here, get rid of these fuses, put the circuit breaker in place, and then hook everything back up and test it. Just got all this wired up here. So here's our circuit breakers in place of the fuses. And then I got my wire running down there. Just kind of screwed them out. So far so good. We got both fans running right now. Now I can get this thing out and start road testing again. Got the truck backed out, started it, got it running. I want to wait a little bit for these fans to kick on. Make sure that both of them are cycling properly. Keep the hood closed and see how long we can let it idle before it starts getting too hot. Or maybe it won't be getting too hot. While that's doing its thing, I'm gonna clean up the garage. Wanted to address the transmission leak. I think what happened was when the truck got really hot, might have had an excess pressure buildup in the transmission cooler, and we had some extra seepage out of one of the fittings. So I tightened that down. That should be okay. Again, the AC's running, so we'll see. The fan's kicked on at 200. You can kind of see this gauge. Oh, one of the fans just turned off. Looks like it's holding at about 190-ish. The other fan just kicked off. They just turned on. I could feel
I can feel the air coming up down here. Those fans move some air, dude. Got the AC blasting right now. Looking over here at the temperature, the fan's kicked on, but it's holding strong at 200. I think the condenser introduces enough extra heat to keep the truck right at 200. The other fan just kicked on, because they come on right around 200 degrees. But if I turn the AC off, it'll drop down to 190 and the fans will kick back on. But if I let it sit here with the AC running, it sits right at 200. And it's hot today. It's like, yeah. Yep. So I'm really happy with this right now. Well, I think it's safe to say the overheating issue is solved on this old 454. Those two small fans move so much air through that radiator. When I'm getting out of the truck and I got my flip-flops on, I feel the hot air just rushing right over my feet. I can't stand next to the truck because it's so hot, but it's keeping the truck at 205, which is perfect. And I've thrown everything I can at it today. I got the Florida sun overhead, took it around the block, made sure everything was up to operating temperature, sat it in the driveway for 30 minutes, blasting the AC, nothing. So I also put on some new headlights and I straightened out the bumper. I still got to address some rubbing issues we have with these 22s, but we're just going to send it down the road and we're going to take it to the Southeastern Truck Nationals. That's right, we're going to put another 1,200 miles on this truck, so you don't want to miss out on that event coverage. And also, I'm meeting a special guest on the way up to that show as well, so you don't want to miss out on that either. And once we get back, we're going to address some issues with the Cookie Monster. I'm so excited to tear into this truck. I got some things I want to do before I completely blow it apart. And I just want to say I really appreciate all the comments and suggestions that you guys and gals have for this truck. I really want to make this a community build. I think it's going to be a really, really cool truck. It already is a really cool truck, but I think that cumulatively, we're going to take it to the next level. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. If you're already a subscriber, you're a freaking awesome human being. And I'll see you guys in the next video.